Besides vertically stretching and compressing our parent functions, we can also horizontally stretch and horizontally compress our parent function. So now we're going to look at these transformations, the horizontal stretch and the horizontal compression. So let's go into the graphing calculator, and we'll start with the parent function of the square root of x. I have that first as y1. That's bolded. It'll be the darker graph when we see it. And then y2 is the square root of 7x. So notice we're multiplying a 7 inside the parentheses, so that would be inside the square root symbol, inside the grouping symbol. That's significant. So we go to our graph. We can see our parent function, the bold graph, that's the plain square root. And here the thinner graph is our square root of 7x. So you can see that that graph looks narrower or steeper, similar to a vertical stretch like we looked at earlier. But now we're talking in terms of a horizontal change because we're multiplying that 7 inside the grouping symbol, inside times the x. So actually, horizontally, this is actually a compression. Then if we go and change that 7, that number 7 is greater than 1, if we change it to a number between 0 and 1, like 0.3, for instance, now if we go to our graph, there's our parent function, the bold, and there's our square root of 0.3x. So when we multiply by that 0.3 inside the grouping symbol, again, that looks like vertically it would look like a compression, but we're talking horizontally, so this is actually a stretch. Okay, so our horizontal stretch, if you stretch horizontally, that's actually going to make the graph look wider. And if it's a horizontal compression, horizontally, that's going to look like the graph is narrower. So let's make a sketch of those graphs we just graphed in the calculator. So here's our parent function, square root of x. And then when we multiply by that 7 on the inside of that square root of 7x, we know that that graph actually was compressed horizontally. And then when we multiply inside the grouping symbol here by 0.3, so we've got the square root of 0.3x, now the graph has actually been stretched horizontally. So this is kind of backwards of what you would think, opposite of what you would think. So when you multiply by a number greater than 1, like the 7 inside the parentheses, it's actually compressed, and it's compressed by a factor of 1/7, the reciprocal of 7. And here, when we multiply by the 0.3, the number between 0 and 1 inside that grouping symbol, it's actually stretched horizontally, and that's by a factor of the reciprocal of 0.3. Okay, so if we take our parent function, f of x, and we multiply by a inside that grouping symbol, inside the square root in this case, and again, we're clarifying here, a has to be positive. Again, we'll talk about the negatives later. So if we multiply inside the grouping symbol, we're going to cause a horizontal stretch or a horizontal compression. Okay, so if we multiply by an a greater than 1, we're going to compress horizontally by a factor of the reciprocal of a, of 1 over a. And if we multiply by an a between 0 and 1, we're going to horizontally stretch by a factor of 1 over a, the reciprocal of a.